We got a big monster fifth wheel in here. This thing's a big old toy hauler. It is a monster. That's that beam right there is the center of our building, and it's 100 feet long. And it's actually out here. This thing is enormous. So it's a big old triaxle. But we got some issues with it for sure. We got some D-lam here. I don't know if this is going to show up. I don't know if you can. Well, you can see that little image moving as I'm pushing. The little reflection. You can see that. And we got some issues down here. We haven't even done anything to it yet. These screws are all ready to come out. And I don't know if the board is rotted up underneath here or not. We're going to inspect that. And then, but this floor is all rotted right here. So they had some issues with it. And then somebody had taped it. And we just popped the tape down. I just did that a minute ago. You can see like this is all rotted right in here. So you see all that pushing in there. So obviously we got to take all that apart. And then I got some D-lam right here above this storage door. See, I'll bring the camera up. I'm hoping the camera come back a little bit. Right here by the storage door. So we got this D-lam here. Yeah, I don't know if you can see all that. It's right here, and this is not sealed right here. So chances are that the water went down here, and behind this is a piece of a thin Luan, and it probably sucked it up. And it's called wicking. So it probably wicked it up, much like a sponge. You set a sponge down and then, you know, a little glass of water on a dish or something that has some water in it, you know, the sponge will kind of wick it up. And then I see this, and I don't like that, because then the water comes down, and then the water is getting there, and that's not sealed, and that one's not sealed. I got a torn gasket here, so we'll check all that out. And then when this thing closes, it doesn't close evenly. It's got some gapping in it, you know. I think I'm going to close it and show you. And that's not a concern. As long as the slide is operating properly, I'm not going to poke that bear. So sometimes trying to meddle around with some stuff, it just isn't worth it. Then you have to do this, you have to do that. So if it's working fine and it's you know, staying watertight, then we just leave it alone. But everything has to be sealed, all these screws. So you know, that's what I think the customer could probably handle that. And because it's very laborious. Every screw has to come out, every single screw in there. I'm going to fix this here, and I'm going to put one with a rake on it. And what a rake really means is it kind of goes up on an angle. And we're going to put it up there, so then when the water does come down, it'll trickle away from the coach. So it's not even at all allowed to go back in that way. And that'll keep the water from going in there. Because if it gets down inside here, see, it'll run along the top of this. I don't like that. But it'll run along the top of that, and then it'll get in there. See, and then you got water leak right in there. And it's just going to be little water droplets, because you can see you can get a water droplet in there. It doesn't take a lot. And some of these leaks are what I call chronic leaks, and they're just very small. It's not like there's a deluge of water going in there. There's trickles of water that go in there, and then the wood soaks it up, and then you get some more, and it just, like a dog chasing its tail, eventually it's going to fail. So the other thing that's a variable is I don't know what's underneath this. It sounds pretty good. So again, I usually don't start going after stuff unless I have a reason to. And I don't want to beat up a person's wallet. You know, I like to get the job done that needs to be done. And but obviously some things have to be done or should be done prior or while we're doing certain things. Like for instance this here that I was pointing out, that's something you probably want to do right now. So we got authorization to do that. And then but we're going to have to take the cap off. And we'll take the cap off because we still got to inspect to see what if that framing up underneath is compromised. So we'll check all that out, and then we'll see what's going on, because I got a little bit of softness right here, and I'm just hoping that the frame up underneath this here it sounds pretty good. But you know, you got another big gap right there where water's going to get in. So we'll check it all out. That's what we got so far. And I haven't even done an inspection on the roof yet, so I'll show you all that before we get to it. But we got to start somewhere, and since we got our scaffolding out, we want to be able to do all this work. Then we can close the close the slides, and then we can put the scaffold back and work that way. It's obviously a lot easier. So it's obviously easier to work with all the scaffolding than to try to bounce around on ladders. I don't see how those guys do that. That is just crazy. If you're going to a shop that's doing that, or if you visit a shop and that's how they do things, I'd strongly recommend you find another shop. because this is, to me, in my opinion, this is part of what you need to get the job done correctly. And if you've ever climbed up a ladder about 100 times a day, I promise you, you don't want to do it 101 times. After a while, you just go, and hey, did you get that up there? Now you're too tired to climb that ladder. Yeah, I got it, I got this. At least here, we can walk all the way around the whole perimeter. We got one in the back. There's one that runs along the back. This one comes out. And then what we do, like this one, we're going to have to extend. We'll extend it. But we take and put walk boards in the front like we got over on this one. So you can walk. You got a nice, everything's obviously the safety rails and everything. But you can see how you can walk around. And we'll do the same to this. We'll have to bring this out and bring it over. So we'll get all that together. But I know we got a problem over here on this slide. The roofing's ripped on the inside, so we're probably just going to put a patch on it. That's what he wanted to do right now. And we'll see what we do with all this other stuff. All right, more to come. We finally got the floor out. And we got some rod over here. We got some rod over here. So we gotta get that fixed. This is just water stained. That's pretty strong. This right here. And this right here looks rotted. So we got to investigate that. Unless it's just on this plywood right here that I'm looking at, because there's a thin layer of plywood up on there. So we'll check all that. This is all wood frame. This coaches, I guess, most of which. So, all right. Okay, well that's what we got so far. Let's see where we go. All right, so now we're trying to take out. This is the piece that was rotted right here. You can see it right down there. And then, but they didn't even secure it in. It was only pinned in from this pylon on the edge. That's it. It's all coming down. They didn't bring it in. Even when they framed it, they didn't screw it down, and they didn't put this screwed up in here. We're going to glue and screw it all together. But, and this is supposed to be a high-end coach. And it's a nice coach. It is, but it just never surprises me. But we'll get it back. All right, so you can see, well, we did get the floor in, so that's all done. And then we put a piece of metal up underneath here instead of that fabric they had. All they had was basically this, like an underbelly up underneath there. So we got all that back in, and then, well, this was all de-lammed, so I wanted to see what was going on. As you can see, they just filled it with batten insulation. You can see all this rot. And now it's all going that way. And I got an issue down here, right in here. I got some de-lam. So I don't want to have to take this whole piece off, but I don't know how far this rot goes. So, that's a problem. And then this other piece they put in here, that's a floater. It's not even attached to anything. All they do is try to put that liquid nails or whatever on there, some sort of adhesive, and just stitch it back in. But you can see, look at that's all gallied out. That's how rotted that is. So, all right, well, there's all the stuff we run into. So many people say, hey, when can you get to my coach? I don't know, I gotta get this one done first. You know, these are surprises to us. We don't know all what's wrong with it. Not until we look at it and go, yep, we were hoping we could just skin it back over, but obviously not the case. So we shall see how we're gonna check this mess.
See it running down?
Oh yeah. I don't know if you can see that water droplets in there.
It was running down a second ago. See?
Here it goes. Oh. That's not a good sign. There's all that water in there. It's trapped in there. Oh, you can, hopefully there it is. You can see it with the camera now. Well, let's see how much more we got going on in this thing. Now what have we got? The door off. Rot. More rot. All this is all rotted on the side of this whole top frame is all rotted. All the way around the door. And let's see. Got some soggy insulation.
That's the bathroom.
Yep, that's wet. This is all wet up inside here. It's all crumbling. You can see it's all falling out. See? All this is all rotted. Bottom frame is all rotted. Down here, it's actually got a hole in it. See the hole? Over there. I just tore that apart. I mean, I do have unusually strong hands anyways. I usually do finger curls with about 25 pounds. You know? That's all rotted in there. See if I get my little flashlight there. Ta-da! All rotted. Seems like we run into these all the time. These runaway elephants. So how far does it go? It's kind of like a game show. You gotta get one of those big wheels and spin it. How much rot is in your coach? Step right up. Nope, sorry. Well, let's see what we can do. We'll take this bottom piece off here, I guess. And then we're gonna have to probably explore right there on this door and see what's up with that. Alright, so this is one of the screws right here. I'm pretty sure this is rotted underneath there. And then that's all rusty. You can see that. That screw is right there. A couple of those screws. Look at the one on here. It's still on my gun. So they're check this one here. Check this one. But I'm sure. Oh, rusty. Not left-handed. Come on. Too much coffee. Shaking here. Oh, come on. Gee whiz. Yeah, switch hands. Let me take a few of these screws out and I'll be back with you. Here's my screws. All rusty. Oh, this one here. Look at that little light. Oh, right, a little light. That one's all rusted over. And they're just spinning, so I'm sure that whole bottom frame is rotted too. I'm sure it is. Alright. So, when it come in, it needed a roof and a redeck. That's what it needed when it come in. So, in the slide out floor. So, he told me, he said, I think I need a slide out floor. So then that, I knew we had D-lam up there, which turned into that. And then we did that, that turned into this. And then that turned into this. And now it's turned into this. But where do you stop this thing? You know? So, we shall find out. When all else fails, duct tape is your friend. Jeez. This is rotted. And this is rotted. You can see that right there. Like this will come right out. See it? You can actually see that moving right in here. Look in there. Let's see. See? It's another hot mess. Right there. There's a pop off. Right there. Ta-da! It's all on the bottom. I'll bet this whole bottom rail right here is rotted. That's good, I guess. Water got to go somewhere. So, don't know what more to say. Once in a while I get these ones in here that just need a roof and a redeck. But it's far and few between. Almost every coach that comes in here challenges my patience and challenges my skills of how we're going to put it back together without ripping the whole entire coach apart. But if I'm right and this is bad, I mean, I'm hoping it doesn't go over there. He had supposedly had that done, from what I understand. He had that slide out done. The whole entire thing was supposedly built from somebody else. But I don't know how far over it goes, and I don't want to have to start taking the whole siding off. I mean, that's crazy. That'd be a lot of work. A lot of work. All right, let's see what we can do. Quiet on the set. So on this slide, we did have some rot over here, and this is still wet. He never had this slide rebuilt. I know he said that a couple times. This was not the slide, and it was the inside of the other slide from what he told me. But this is rotted in here. That's, like I said, that's still actually wet. You can see that. It's just a mess. So all they did was just glue this on. That's all they did. And then you can see they really just stapled everything, probably from the other side, because you can see there's nothing there holding it together. None of these have anything on here. I doubt they did pocket holes on there. And the reason why I figured that is because all that other stuff down there is all stapled. So that's just kind of the way they do things. Stapled it together. And I hope that the glue will hold it together. Obviously you can see that's all rotted. That's all rotted. So we took this whole entire piece out, because if not I would have had to cut it and it would have had a scar on it. So we're going to clean all this up. You can see the insulation. Got some gaps in that one. That one probably fit. Maybe this one just slid down. We'll see if we get that one back in. But it's not very thick anyways. So, but then we're going to investigate all this here. Okay, all that. We had to take some of this apart to do it right anyways, to see what we had. And we got suspicions on the floor. We're not sure. We don't know if there's a rotted floor or if that's just that is a door access down to the batteries. So hopefully that's it. What we see is hopefully what we got, and we can get it fixed. All right, well, onward and upward. So once we got that piece out, we've got another piece that's behind it, and that's rotted. So we got to dig that out, because that's actually holding part of the floor assembly. So we got to get that piece out to get that replaced, and then get another one on top of the frame here, and then we can start doing it. And that's what we're looking at. So we got all this rotted, all that rotted. We took all that nonsense out. And then that is rotted, like right where the part where the screws are. The rest of it's fine. So I'm going to try to see if we can figure something else out besides trying to dig that out. We'll take out what is, seriously rotted, like down here, I think. But I think what I might end up doing is sliding a piece of steel inside here so these screws will bite. Instead of taking all that out, I could put a piece of steel in here, clad that, and then screw these to that, because that's going to be a real bear to get out, because I'm sure there's something on the other side that's screwed to. I'd be pretty certain of that. Yeah. And I think that'll be just fine, because the rest of it's fine. It's just that little bit of edge right in there. That's it. The rest of this is all solid. So, all right. So we have got everything all reframed. Everything has been reframed. And then this here there's a crack in it, and it was already there. There's another crack here, and I took the original out, and I made a new one. That other one, when I went to place it in and follow this radius, it was wrong. So whoever did it worked on it previously when they put that piece in, and then they tried to put the molding on. That's what caused it to crack, because it wasn't the same shape. So it was actually supposed to be bigger, so they made it a lot smaller. It's actually almost a ½ inch difference. So I actually made 3 of them. Every time I put it in there, I was like, no, that radius isn't right. And it's hard to follow it when there's nothing there. But anyhow, so we got all that back together. And then we got pocket screws that go up in here. We usually just staple it just to hold things in place, but everything is all glued. We glued everything all together. And that is probably going to help everything else slide better. I think I mentioned that slide not operating properly. It was real close to the top of that gutter up there. But everything was settling. This from the bottom here all the way to the top on this was measuring 115 inches and 115 3/4 inches. Over here by this slide was 115. So we had to jack this up and stretch it out to where it was supposed to be, because it was causing that much of a sag. So this portion here with all the rot that we had down in here had dropped it about 3/4 inch. Whew, that's a lot. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot when you're talking about all these margins that you need to kind of keep. So hopefully this will pull everything back together a little better. You can kind of see like the opening on this, how narrow it is there. Then you come down here and it's wider down here on the slide. That's probably just the way it pulls in. Sometimes they'll teeter-totter until they get where they want, and then the bottom kind of tucks in there. But everything else, we also went around this whole section. We didn't do obviously everything all the way over there, but we went and put even these here, like we got pocket screws in there and in there. So we went around and made sure everything else is all screwed together the way it should be. We put all these screws and fastened everything back together just for good measure. So now we're trying to get it all together and put the siding on, and we can get the roof going. All right.
A lot of work, a lot of work.
We're trying to get the sheathing on here. Something else I don't know if I pointed out. Right here in that corner where I told you that little bit of edge rot, we put that aluminum in there. Got heavy gauge aluminum all the way up inside there. So we took it and then I actually folded it around so we got a good bite and would have more strength that way. So now again we're just trying to get the measurements so we can put our sheathing on here and we'll clean up this siding and we'll get that glued back. Well, this is our roof to our Excel. So you see they had some trouble here, put some tape on it. And now we're just trying to break everything loose. And all they do is just slobber more of that die core on there. Put more on, more on. Gee whiz. That is a cash cow. You can see how it's all fracturing. See all those fractures in there? I'm not getting you. I'm just showing the video. So all those fractures that you see in there, that's from, and that's real soft. Wow. Hold on, let me back that up. Yeah, we definitely got some rot there. That's bowing down. But all of those fractures that are in there, they want you to keep putting more of the product on. You can already see the discoloration. They already put another application on it. So what they do is exploit people's ignorance to roof systems. That's not the right way to do a roof. That's the standard. They'll say that's the standard method of RV. That's how you do it. That's a standard method. It's wrong, but it's a standard method because everybody accepted it. So now that's a standard method. So, but you keep having to put more product on. They know the product doesn't last. So they could reformulate it to make sure that it would last. They make commercial products that last, but they don't use these products. They use the cheap ones, as cheap as they can get. And my assumption to this, because I don't know the chemistry behind it, but evidently it's a butyl with maybe an acrylic mix to it, and once it fractures out, the acrylic fractures off, then it exposes the butyl underneath there, and then the UV light will go in and start creating all those little cracks and craters. So it doesn't have properties built into it to reflect or thwart UV light. That's why it does that. So all you have to do is reformulate it. We use all commercial products here, so we don't ever have that problem. But it's our cash cow at $15 a tube. So you saw right here, I'm sure we got some rot underneath this. We're going to replace the whole deck anyway, but that's just the way it is. Look at here, we wrote caution on here because we got a big belly in here, so we don't want to step on that. Same thing with there. There isn't very many protrusions through this roof, but any protrusion, if you were to Google or DuckDuckGo or Brave, whatever, get on the internet, and is that blurring out on me? See if I can get this to refocus. I don't know why he's doing that. Maybe if I come over here, it'll refocus. There we go. So if you were to get on the internet and search for commercial roof images, you would see all of the vents. You'd see the air conditioners here. You'd see like skylights and things like that. They're all elevated up off the roof line, and that's the way it's supposed to be done. That's the right way to do it. And if you go on also RV Armor, get on their website and you'll look at what they do about air conditioners. And we do have it on our channel. The name of the video is Even RV Armor Thinks We're Better. Something along that lines. But I go over why I don't like spray-on systems. So somebody would look at this roof and go, hey, right there, it sounds pretty good. Yeah, we'll spray over it. And you're spraying over rot. That's why I tear it up. When we did commercial work, I had sprayers. I had those big sprayers. So if they worked, I just buy the sprayer and I would put them on. It's just not the right way to do it because you have to get up underneath this thing and see what the structure's like before you just throw a roof on it. And we've taken off quite a few of those spray-on roofs. They're just not going to give you the longevity that you're looking for, and they won't seal around all of your protrusions like they claim. They just don't. So that being said, that's why I don't do it. And we don't do coatings. They're all just a waste of your money. Put on a good roof, be done with it. And you got to understand the mentality of the RV industry is get it built, get it out, get it sold. Is that thing still blurring out? All right, I thought it was still blurring out. But that's their mentality. They don't care. Then they just pass the problem on to the consumer. Here you go. Yep, now you have to deal with putting a roof on a coach. And I'm going to tell you, if you're looking at a coach, it's going to need a roof, period. It's going to need a roof. And putting a roofs on a coach is the most expensive thing you will do to your coach. But it will be. I'm just telling you right now. Even if you have a motorhome, you're not going to need to always put an engine in a motorhome. You're not always going to need to put a transmission or rear end. You're not always going to have to do that. You may get an occasional few here and there that have failed, but as a rule, they don't do that. But they will all need a roof. Every camper, RV, motorhome is going to need a new roof put on it. So when you go and look at it, make sure that you're happy with it, because you're going to need to put a roof on it sooner than you think. So anyhow, this is we're going to tear all this off, and then when we do, we'll show you all the damage. All right, so on our Excel, this is a shoulder that goes on here, and this shoulder is barely on. There's the sheathing. So it is literally right here where I made that mark. That's where the sheathing ends. Look at all these staples. There is no way we're going to take out 1 million staples out of this thing and salvage this without it having all these knurls. So we're just going to have to tear it off and make some new shoulders. So that's so I think when I was going over this before, where I was talking about the spray-on roof, and I probably didn't finish my thought and got diverted onto something else, the spray roof systems. So I was mentioning to go to a video that we have, even RV Armor thinks we're better. And then I said, well, you could go to their site too, RV Armor. And on one of their videos about air conditioning, the owner there, Lee, I believe his name is, he was sitting right beside an air conditioner, and he said, if this was a commercial building, it would be sitting on a curb with flashing and counter flashing. And that's exactly what we do. So he knows that's the right way to do it, but yet they don't do it that way. So I wanted to throw that thought in there before I forgot about it yet again, and someone go, he didn't even finish what he's saying. I don't know what he means. Sometimes I think too fast. But so here's all the rot that we were showing here. And then this other bit over here is real soft, but it doesn't seem rotted. But then I don't know if you can see, there's a hump in this one. That one over there, not this sheet, but the next sheet, there's a hump coming up. So obviously we're going to check. This is kind of, I was expecting to see this all blown out. So that just tells me something else is given underneath it, if it's that buoyant right in here anyways. There may be a bad truss or something, but we're going to find out when we tear this off. But we're going to need to replace all these shoulders. And that kind of stinks, because I was hoping to try to salvage it. If I did salvage it, we just save the customer a couple dollars. But I mean, we just can't reuse it. I mean, that is how close the sheathing is. It's right there, you know. I mean, you barely got a ½ inch that it's sitting on. That's why they sewed it in so tight, which, I mean, that's a heck of a job, but they probably should have just made a wider shoulder. So this is the way they do to protect the seams here, you know. And basically, when they put these roofs on, this material is so thin that it'll kind of gully in. And so they put this on here to kind of bridge that gap, so it doesn't have that that little recession, I guess. But like there's another belly in over here too, right in this area. So well, we're going to start tearing this off here in a little bit, and we'll let you know what we come up against. And the front part over here, we did this a while ago. So this coach has been on. Let me sneak around you there. This coach has been on our board for a while, and it come in, and this is all gone. This was all trashed. So we had already roofed this, and I just threw that on there just for the time being. We're going to take that off, put a curb on there. But what we're going to do is cut. We're going to have to cut all this, and then I'll weld another sheet here. And we shouldn't have to mess with all that. That should be all brand new roofing. So that's kind of the plan. And I'll inspect it yet again to make sure everything's all set. And but I believe we got all that on the last one. But this is our roofing. So what it did, we did this repair so the customer could use their coach because it was that bad. So, all right, well, let me get to working here and taking some of these shoulders off. All right, we got the siding. Well, the sheathing behind the siding, we got that all fastened on there. It's all glued and fastened on there. So then we'll deal with all the doors and everything afterwards. But we got it all going. We're going to get ready to glue the siding on here. And then where we breached, like those areas that were breached, and like I think there's another one like over there, about that slide out. We'll epoxy all those back together. So we'll get it. So we already got this one little piece we got glued on. Now we're doing that. We're getting the glue down there. We're spraying her on. Quiet on the set, quiet on the set. All right, so we got glued on, glued on, glued on. All right, so when you put this on here, when you get out in the sun, you're probably gonna notice this thing have just a little bit of wave in it. And the reason for that is because it is not rigid. So when we opened this wall up, you saw all that batten insulation. So you got studs here. And this gets glued to 1/8 inch. So the 1/8 inch doesn't have something solid to sit behind. Much like on a some of the other ones we've opened up, if you look at them, they would have foam in them. And that foam helps keep the wall kind of a little more rigid. So, you know, like I said, you'll probably notice that on here. And I don't know if you notice it down there too much, but it's in the garage. But one of my guys will mention it, but there's just nothing you can do. It's just the way it is. So we got this all back together, and now again, since we have our aluminum that I put in here, we've got something to screw to. See, something solid. Obviously that's going to get caulked. Now we got to try to get all our doors, make sure everything's all set. So when we did all this framing, because it was off so much, we don't know what's kind of crooked or not, but everything that we kind of trowel fit, I mean, it will fit. We just may have to probably adjust it a little way, you know, one way or another, but we'll clean it all up. So then what we did on here, we fixed this, and we're going to put some trim in here in this corner to keep any water that possibly could happen that leak out. I don't want it coming back in here and causing any more rot, and I don't know if that did contribute to some of it. We'll seal these up too. I put these new caps in here, so we'll seal all those. But something else that I'm probably going to do is I'm going to probably put a drain in here, and it'll go down. So this way, any water that gets in there will go down the drain. I may have to put it more towards the back because it looks like this kind of has a little slope. I don't know if that was the design of it, because this slopes back here, so it must have been. So other than that, we're going to obviously trim that off, all that fat off of there, off of there. This didn't have a bottom piece. That's the way the door is designed. And now we got our radius back on here that we'll have to get our molding around here. So it's coming together. We got all this tucked in, and then we just got to get all this piece. This just turns right back in, and we'll secure it there. That was a previous crack that somebody had fixed. There was a plate up underneath there. If you remember looking back at the video, you'll see a plate, and they cut that, and then they tried to patch it, which didn't fare so well. We also had a crack down here, which this one, but for us to try to glue this and then get this tucked up underneath here to glue that wasn't going to happen. So we just distressed it out here, and we're gonna fill it, and we'll get it all back looking nice. And that should get us, the same with that one over there, we'll get that one all epoxied up. So it's coming back together. It's getting there. Alrighty, now we're getting the roof off. So we got that, and then they had plastic on top of here. You can see some of it down there, some of that plastic. Not everybody likes to be on YouTube, so try to show what I can. Alright, so we had a mouse in here or something, but you can see that little galley right there. So something else was chewed here, see it? So a mouse. Little mouse or some sort of rodent. And then I saw this right here. That's a nice perfect circle right there. Maybe he drilled it out. These mice are getting creative. Look at that. And then, so we're going to be obviously tape that up. And that's what we do, pull this apart. And then they had this board on top here to be even with this. So the plywood came over, actually it's OSB, but it came over this way to kind of cover over this, right? That's how they did it. So there's, obviously we're probably going to do the same thing, and just when we fasten it and glue it down, we're going to obviously stop right there. We'll have a line on there so we don't staple this point, right? So we shall do all that. And so now what I'm doing is just trying to see what we got in here for, like I said, for any wires or anything that may possibly be compromised. That's what we look for, any wires. This is going down a big cavity down here, so that should be okay. And but I want to see if there's anything in there that may compromise the wires. A lot of times when they come up through the wall, they have them coming through a ferrule, and these ones, they didn't use that. They just drilled holes, so there's nothing in here to really compromise. Like a ferrule is a metal tubing, and the inside of the ferrule is kind of sharp. It's like they cut it with it like a tubing cutter. So even though they're trying to protect it so you don't put a fastener through it, the ferrule itself is sharp on the inside, and it shapes the wire. As the coach moves, the wires kind of jack around a little bit. But they didn't do that in this case, so you know, that's kind of, I guess, a plus. You know, it's obviously all wood construction. This doesn't meet over here. I'd like to see that, because you got a wire there, so I'll probably put a block in there to make sure that wire doesn't get pinched. And the same over here. I don't want this wire. We just tape these up, so we'll probably put some better tape on there, make sure those are okay. And the same thing, put another block so we can get that back down where it needs to be. So I got I don't know what that is, just some wire that's just hanging there. We haven't done anything here, but I don't know if it goes to anything or what. It's just, I can't get any slack out of it. Nope, I can't get any slack out of it, so I don't know what it may go to. So, no idea. So we just check around all the wires, just make sure everything looks okay, and you know, it looks like we had a mouse in here. Then I'd like to see, you know, if there's any evidence of them chewing anything else besides what has been chewed. But you can see, like, this is the other reason why we open these roofs up. And right here, you can see that hole. See that hole right there? So now, if you don't ever fix that, it's just going to get worse. So now the cold air will be blowing up inside, I guess if you want to call this the attic area, the underside of the roof. And you're going to lose the efficiency of your AC. But the other thing is, when the roof is hot, you're blowing cold air up inside it, you know, you're going to get condensation. So some of the stuff I really don't like, but there's nothing we can do to really change it, is the way they cut these notches out. They overcut that right there. That just kind of just really adds a little risk that they could possibly split. But if this is all glued together, and then when we put our new decking on and glue it down, then that should help keep the whole unit together. So that's just something that I'm not a fan of, that overcut like that. But they did it to all of them, and evidently they seem to be still straight. So I don't like to poke bears that don't need to be poked. All right, so like I said, we'll end up checking the rest of these wires, and if we see anything, I like to get it on video. I don't want anybody calling me back going, hey, this doesn't work, like this down here. I don't know what it goes to. So I have no idea, but that could be a wire that's supposed to go to something, but I have no clue. It's just cut there. It could be an extra wire, who knows. It would take me an awful lot to go fishing around for it, since I don't know if it's supposed to be there or not. Waste all that time trying to do something and go, oh, it doesn't go anywhere anyways. So whatever's working or wasn't working probably isn't working or is working. So this is the plastic that they put on there. And the problem with the plastic, they use that as kind of like a vapor barrier. And the problem with it is you still can't glue down to it, because you know, you can't glue the plastic to this and then glue to the, you'd have to try to glue on top of the plastic, and that doesn't usually work out so well. So again, we're going to check that trunk line as well, and all these, everything it's taped. That's why we pull everything up. Let's see what's going on here. What's going on? So if you threw a few staples in, and then they had some screws on this thing too. So overall, I mean, it's probably not one of the worst built coaches I've ever seen, but I mean, taking into consideration all the other work we've already done to it. So that's about it. You know, we'll have to make sure these are all set. We had to make new shoulders, because the other shoulders I already showed you had a gazillion staples in them, and they barely bit on top of that decking. The decking was out here, and it was so small. We had to make new shoulders. You can't, it would have gotten ruined, and it would have been too short. We wouldn't have been able to salvage it. So that's what we're doing now, just getting everything else prepped. And like I said, we had already done this section a while back, so we're going to just make our cut, and then we're going to weld back over to that roof and get that done. So that's what we got so far in our great Excel. And hopefully we get some decking on this thing here shortly, after we're satisfied that everything is all done, taped up and everything. Then we will, here's some more whatever. So we'll vacuum it out too, and then if there's any compromised insulation or something, we'll get rid of that and put some fresh stuff. So we don't want to put anything back that's contaminated. Alright, so that's where we're at so far. We shall keep you updated on what's next. Alright, so we got some more duct tape around the AC over there, and then we fixed this. There was a wire right here that had gotten breached because of the way they had it here, so we moved it, but it was pinched in here. We moved that over, so we got that right. And then we got all the other ductwork taped up, and you can see what we also did was put these little pieces of metal on there, because you see the little scars, you can see the corner, see the scars, those are from the wire bouncing. So we put them over there. You got to get another one on this side too. Yeah, So get all that. Get one on this side as well. No sense putting it on one side, doesn't make sense.
See the rest of
So,
them.
yeah, you got these here. Oh, okay. Good, he's double checking it, make sure we got them all right. But that's what we were trying to do. So we got the metal on there, so it's gonna poke a hole in it. That's just foam. So the wire just rubs a hole in it. So then again, we taped up everything else. So we're looking good on that. And double checking everything, make sure everything is all set. And we can start putting the insulation back in, and then we can start getting the decking on here. So we were about ready to put the cap on, and we want to double check, make sure everything's all set. But this side over here, that's all rotted. So we got to dig this piece out. It's all rotted, so we had something to screw to. So, and the molding was kind of cockeyed when we were looking at it. So we're going to obviously take this piece out and replace it. Some of that down here looks okay. It looks like this is really compromised. You can actually poke your finger through this. Yeah, see? I can dig that out there. All right, so we're going to replace that. More to do on this fine XL. All right, we have got the deck down. We got it all glued. You can see all the glue in there. And then this area here, that's what I was saying, we get that line there. There's no staples in there. We're not fastening that. There's too many wires. The same on the other side. That's the way they designed it. So this board bridges it like that. That's the way it's supposed to be. I don't really care for it, but it is what it is. So we got all that done. We got one more sheet, as you can see, we have to put in. And we're ready to throw this roof down. Still got shoulders to put on. I had to make new shoulders. So we'll get the shoulders on, and then probably got some strips going across. So like some of this isn't going to sit exactly perfect. So I got a little lip right there. That's generally, you know, I'll put a strip right there just to make it look clean. And that should get us. But it's looking pretty well. So we are, just blew a bulb. Light bulb went out. All right, well, let us get the shoulders on everything else, and we'll keep showing you stuff. All right, we got the roof balls sprayed down. Got the fan going on behind me here to cool it down. It's like 80 degrees today. It's kind of warm in the shop. But we've got it all sprayed. Now this side over here, the driver's side, that's already been done. So you can see we got our protective strips in there, like I told you we put in. Got new shoulders going on here. So I know you probably see this little burp here, but that'll get hidden right behind the gutter. So when you lay these on here, these radius, the radius want to actually just stay straight. That's it. So if there's any deflection at all in the roof, even up or down, you're going to get these little burps. So we just secure it back with you know, the turbo or the gutter is going to be on top of it. But it's ready to go. So we're going to roll this over, and then up there where we had the two pieces of roof and the one that we patched previously, we're going to put another weld over that, and we'll get that squared away. But it looks like it's about ready to go. Ready to roll. So obviously we got the roof rolled out, and now what we're doing is just rolling it with our big heavy roller. We're making sure it's packed down. We just keep going over it. We roll it down go up and down it a few times, make sure it's stuck down real well. We are done with our big old XL. She's ready to go. A lot of work on this thing. Gee whiz, a lot of work. I want to thank the customer for bringing this in for us. A real challenging job, but and interesting and big. But we're all done. So you can see we got our stamp right up on here. RVRI just shows the date of when we put the roof down. This way we monitor the roof when it comes in for inspections. Yeah, how old the roof is. Make sure it's going to age the way it's supposed to age. Even though it's a 20-year roof system, it's going to age the way it's supposed to age, meaning that all warranties are written the same way, and it's just a warranty on the material. So even dyed cool, all of them, they only say the material, so they don't know who's installing it, but it will start to degrade and, you know, age within a certain, they call that prorating. So this, again, being a 20-year, but this is a commercial roof, and commercial roofs are designed to be out in the sun and the weather all the time. You don't have that with a coach. 99% of the time or so, majority of the time, we'll say you're going to be under cover, under trees or something. So all that being said, we like to just put the stamp on there for that reason. And also, if we want to sell this, that he would be able to say, hey, the roof was just put on, because we do extended warranties as well. So going along the warranty, the way the warranty works, again, this is a 20-year roof system, so they say the material won't fail, but they don't know who's installing it, like I said. So keeping that in mind,
you bring it to us. Initially, I like to see it about 30, maybe 60 days afterwards. And that's just the initial inspection. After that, it's annual. And the reason why I want to see it within, 2 months, I guess, is because these rack and twist and flex so much that I want to make sure that we addressed everything for the Excel and whatever other one we do, because they all have their own little quirks. I just want to make sure everything's the way it should be. So again, after that, come back once a year. So all of the components you see, like these boots right here, the curbs, we designed them all. I designed every one of them. I fabricate every one of them. So that's the way a commercial roof functions. This is why these roofs fail, because they don't have curbs. There is a spray-on system, I think it's called RV Armor, and on our channel we do have a video. It says even RV Armor thinks we're better. Or you could go to their site. On their site, on RV Armor's site, he has a segment on air conditioners. He's up on the roof. Another guy's asking him what they do about air conditioners, and he says, well, within the 1 minute mark, he said, if this was a commercial roof, it would have flashing and counter flashing sitting up on a curb. So that's the way you're supposed to do it. They know that, but they don't do it. So if a spray system worked, I'd spray it. I'd buy the machine. So we've done a lot of commercial work. In fact, I sold my commercial company to semi-retire and landed into this. But nonetheless, we had machines that would do, big spray machines that would do like the shop roof. We had roll formers that did standing seam metal. We did a lot of restaurant work. So all that said, if it did work and I was comfortable with it, I would say, hey, let's just spray over it. But it doesn't work. So I've replaced quite a few of them already, because they're not going to do, unless you have the curbs and the boots and everything, it's not going to function right. So on a commercial application that has curbs, that has all that, you can get away with it, but not on an RV. You have to also see up underneath this roof deck to make sure everything's sound. And if you watch some of the other videos, this one I don't think was all so bad, but some of the other ones were really bad. And you don't want to close a roof up knowing you get duct lines that are all coming apart, wiring that's compromised and things like that. So you want to make sure all that's done before you go ahead and put a roof on it. So we got 2 strikes of caulking all the way along here, all the way along here. We got 2 strikes on there. We put 2 strikes on there. If you ever take a caulking gun, you start squeezing and going along trying to do your application, you'll hear it pop or crackle. And what you do is injected an air bubble. So the bad part is that now these things rack and twist and flex, like I said. Now that air bubble breaches. When it breaches, then you got a leak. What are the chances of having one air bubble land on another? So it's just the way it is. It doesn't matter what caulking you buy, it will all have air in it. So it doesn't matter if it's the cheapest one or the most expensive. It all comes down and gets dispensed into the little cartridges the same way. So it's just a formulation that's different. So but that being said, we put 2 strikes on all of that. This is an insert trim that we replaced, and we also redundantly put another gutter here, even though they have this one, because I wanted all this water to come off, and I still had to terminate this roof. So this acts as like what you call a termination. So it's coming around, we terminate the roof, and this pins it right all around here. So does it also on the gutter. So you can see we've got caulking on every one of those screws. Every one of those screws up underneath this insert trim is all secured in there. So the roof system right here, sitting up on a curb, and up underneath there is a piece of counter flashing right in there. And the reason we put that up underneath here is a foam gasket, so the water comes down during the rain or as you're traveling and the wind's blowing it. I don't want it to blow back into that gasket. So what this does is it pushes it down. Up on this curb is a counter flash. Like I was mentioning earlier, I'll show you what it looks like on another piece. But this counter flash is under the cover, which goes over the counter flash on the curb. They got some stands in the back. It just gives some balance on the AC. I made all these boots here, so when these things move around, they're not going to leak. They can't leak. This is a special sealer that we use, and everything. This is all heat welded, so there's no caulking in there. It's just, and this is like I said, a special sealer that we use. So you can see how that drops down. The one up front is the same. So what I was getting at is this is a piece of counter flash. This is counter flash. This is flashing. This is counter flash. This is flashing. So that piece of counter flash on the AC comes down here. so the water will trickle out. All right, so it's up underneath here, stays away from the foam gasket. So same thing here, we get these mounted up on boots as a 9/16. I like these here because if you ever have an issue with your antenna, you can just simply pop this off, take these, loosen them up, undo your coax, go get a new one, put another one down. Real easy. You got enough in here to get some air, to get the moisture so things don't sit up on there, and that's an easy way to do an install. And those are decent antennas from what I hear. I don't know, but same way with this curb right here. You can see everything is all sealed. Everything is all sealed. Got two stands on there. It's just a different style. It's just a different style of an air conditioner, different brand. So this one comes down. You can see our counter flash here. You can see that counter flash right there. See how it's lower and it pushes out. So we've got the plumbing right here. And these are all sealed as well. So if these get popped off, the only thing that's going to happen is water's going down into the holding tank. It can't leak inside the coach. So this here, what we did was weld this other piece on here. We had already done this roof a while back, so he could use the coach, but this was really bad. So we did all this other work. So once we did all that, we just couldn't get them in the shop to do all this. So we terminated it here, and then obviously you can see how we put this nice wide patch on this one, because by the time we cut here and cut there and everything, we had to still put a bigger piece in there. So then, like, so we got all this new insert trim. I like this insert trim right here. That's what this is. It's called insert trim. We don't sell anything, and also we're not a DIY channel. We put these videos together so the customers can see the work that we've done for them. A lot of people have questions. What did you see? What did you find? How did you fix it? So they can see it for themselves. And sometimes you try to explain some stuff. Some people really don't grasp how bad certain things are when we try to explain it to them. But when they see it, and they're like, oh wow, I couldn't believe how bad it was. So, but like I said, we're not a DIY channel. We do a lot of work behind the scenes. I couldn't possibly video it. These videos would be way too long. So anyhow, here's the insert trim. This is black, as you can see, on a white gutter. But the way they have the old ones, the original ones were like this. And all that does is slide inside this track. And then water can get down as the gutter is sitting. The water gets into this track, and I just try to keep as much water out as I can. So this one, you can see it's got a little groove in it, and it sits in this little groove in this channel and right in there. So it kind of locks everything out. So I like that a lot better. We don't sell anything, so I have to special order this. I had to buy 2 miles of this. And even the white, I got to buy it in 2 mile segments, like literally like 10,000 feet. You have to get a big pallet of it. But anyhow, that's our roof right there. And let me tell you what the material is. If I got a roll here somewhere. There it is. All right. So this is, move all this out of the way so it doesn't roll off the roof. You can see all those little squares in there. That's a mesh that's built into the material. That's what gives it its strength against hail and tree branches. And you can, if you did have a tree branch hit this, if you did, then we could do, we would be able to put a hot patch over it, so you don't have to tear the whole roof apart. Pretty easy to work with. But all this is, it's called TPO. It's a thermoplastic. So when you put a lot of hot air to it, it will weld together. It literally fuses together. It becomes one piece, much like when you weld metal. The difference is in metal, you would use a medium like the wire or a welding rod, something like that. The product is right there. It's right on the face, so when you warm it up, it just gets all, plastic, and you just can bond it together. So that's our Excel. She is ready to go. And again, we thank the customer for bringing it this way. If you got any questions, just give us a call. We leave a card. And usually it's in the beginning, and probably one at the end, but you can reach out to us, and we don't quote on social media. So if you've seen this on YouTube or something, you're gonna have to give us a buzz. Other than that, we appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Right. So in our care package, we have caulking, we got primer, we have got 2 patches. Those are heat patches. We got a patch, peel and stick patch. We got a checker tool, we've got a magnet, And the rest of this is just pens, keychains, brush, nozzle. Okay, so if we have a hole in the roof, and we'll simulate a hole. We're gonna do hole simulations. We say we got a hole there. Here's your tree branch come through, and you're like, oh man, I got a hole in my roof. It's leaking. So what you want to do? And it's raining out. Right now it's raining. You're like, crap, I gotta stop that leak. You want to get in there, and if you can't get that nozzle in there, don't worry about it. Make it a little bigger. What you're trying to do, you need to get up underneath the roofing, like this. This is what we need to do, get up underneath the roofing. Then you're going to take and you're going to put this up inside there, and you're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Hopefully this thing is plugged up. There it goes. Just squeeze, squeeze. You want to try and get up underneath this part too. Squeeze up underneath there. Put some more underneath there. Well, we are getting this thing all boogered up. Then what we're going to do, you're going to push it together. See how it oozes out? That's sealed. You're done. This is a moisture cured product. So what? It's a hot mess. Looks terrible. Who cares? Keep the water out. So now, the next day, we're going to go up there, and that's going to be cured looking like that. So we're going to take a knife, and you just shave it down. Just shave it down with a knife. I'm just going to obviously wipe this off. Now you say, hey, I want something a little better than that. So what we're going to do is get some cleaner. This is a terrible rag. You got another one. You got one on you? Oh, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag. Hey, what are you doing? What are you going to talk about, man? Nope, just leave it alone. Oh, leave it alone right now. We're recording now? Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, so now we cleaned it off with a knife. I just washed that off because it's still wet. Take that off. So now we got a patch. This is a peel and stick patch. We're going to take that, we're going to center it over there. Just take a pen and go around like this. I like to kind of put a dash like that so I know who's where, what, and where, and how. So now there's what I got. So in the package we got primer. We also have a brush. You're going to take that, you're going to go all inside the square. You're also going to go outside this square about 3/8 of an inch. Outside about 3/8 of an inch or so. Once you get that, there's a film on the back. You peel the film, now you know which side you are, see, because there's your marks. And you peel that film back. Get the fingers, fat fingers in there to get the film off of this thing. This is just a regular roof tape. That's all it is. We put them in all the care packages. Get that daggone thing off of there. Probably need some fingernails. Probably help. Come on. There it is. Okay. Hey, there it is. Now you got the film. We take that film. So now we're going to line it back up with this. We already got the primer under there. You just peel the film back, and as you do, you just rub it down like this. Sometimes that film will get a little stuck in there. This is just a butyl. You just kind of try to keep it as even as you can and flat as you can. Boom, you're done. There it is. So now, out here, this is where your primer is. You put the primer on there. You got primer there, and now you're going to put primer here. You want to prime all this area with your brush. Prime all that. Then you're going to come back. Once you get it all primed, then you're going to put a little bit of caulking on it, just like this. That's simple. If it doesn't all sit in there, you can always take your finger and go around it if you want. We're trying to obviously stop a leak and make one of, there's going to be a little more permanent of a patch than just that plug that we did when it was raining. So now that we got that all done, the whole purpose of it is this part here, this part underneath here, that's a butyl. when the sun hits that, if you didn't have the caulking on there, it will cause it to release and curl up just like I'm doing here. And it'll start coming loose. That's why you need the primer. That's why when you prime it, you're going to prime on top of this, because nothing will stick to it. Nothing, the caulking will not stick to this patch, and it won't stick to the roof unless you use the primer. That's how you do a patch. Ta-da! All done.